You have to pick up the 20s on the way to the hundreds. If you actually dedicate yourself to learning and growing, reading the books, and nowadays listening to podcasts and audiobooks, you can actually make a great career out of working in the trades. There's going to be things that happen to you that are outside of your control, but you can still own how you handle those things, how you approach them. I think responsibility and accountability is definitely the first step in achieving what it is that you want out of life. I think people's perspective is too narrow, and I think people need to zoom out. Growth is like a staircase. There's levels to it, and every time you get to the next step, there's always a next step.
What's up, Waste No Day fans? We got Anthony Hamilton joining us today. We're excited to talk about the idea of what makes up your life, and if your life was a house, would it pass inspection? We're going to do a little bit of analogy here. We like analogies on the show. But we like really good guests, and we're looking forward to this one. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, my man. So quick catch up the audience. Anthony Hamilton, we had our first and thus far only contest in bluecollarcloser.com. That's bluecollarcloser.com. Go look it up. Quick like, get in there. And it was a referral contest for the month of September of 25. I think it was.
I believe. Sorry about that. A little late.
Yeah, and whoever, not all on us, buddy. A little bit on Anthony because it takes a long time to get back to a dude. So it's on both sides of the equation.
Smoke signals. I got it.
So actually, I owe you dinner too, bro. You gotta get out here. Come hang at the shop, do some role play with us. Come get some dinner. The winner of the contest, number one in referrals for the month of September 2025 inside Blue Collar Closer. So whoever refers the most people in for that month won an intro on Waste No Day. So you join us for an intro. Dinner at boot camp if you were going to boot camp, and he didn't go, but he sent some people. And what was the other thing?
Gift card, right?
$500 gift card.
$500 Visa gift card. Yeah. So I spent the gift card. Nate ate the dinner. And
we turned this into an episode instead of an intro. So well done.
In the meantime, Danny and Anthony Hamilton and Danny Jones, who's my VP of Ops here at Ben Franklin Scottsdale and a moderator inside Blue Collar Closer, we're doing a lot together on these live role play calls that we do in BCC every Monday and Wednesday evening. And Danny was saying, bro, we got to get Anthony to do a Wiser Wednesday because he'll crush it. So we made that happen long before we made the intro for Waste No Day happen. And I was like, this is phenomenal. So I texted a few of the guys who were on it, like, what, rate this. And they're like, this is awesome. Love this. So we decided to turn that intro into a full episode. And I know he will plug Blue Collar Closer because he won the referral contest. Some of the guys he paid for himself because they work for him. And he's been an advocate for Waste No Day and Blue Collar Closer since. So appreciate you, bro, and welcome to the show.
I appreciate you guys having me on. On the Blue Collar Closer stuff, I got in there first. I've got a team here, 15 guys. So I got in there first and was checking it out, and I really liked it. I've looked at other programs. I won't mention any of them or the names of the people who run them, but I don't like a lot of them. I feel like a lot of them are kind of cheesy or goofy, but I think the content that you put out is super digestible. I think it's applicable for people. I thought my guys would really like it. It would match their character. It's not over the top like some people can be, like really in your face.
Nate, you can say it.
Which is great.
Nate doesn't mind.
Nate, real, in your face, assertive. It's not gimmicky and, salesy and cheesy. I feel like it's just right in the middle. It's kind of perfect. So I encourage my team to do it. I did set up some incentives or whatnot for them to get in there and do it. I think some of the guys are still in there. I'm still in there. And I started joining the role play sessions every Monday and really enjoyed that and saw a lot of guys coming in every week, seeing improvement, being in the program. So happy to plug BCC.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific is the live role play calls. Wednesday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, live role play call. Thursday, reason I'm saying this is someone reached out to me on Facebook Messenger asking me what the call times were. I'm guessing deciding if he wants to jump in or not. And then Wednesday morning is Wiser Wednesday, which is 10 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. I'm not saying the other ones because you guys just got to catch up to real time zones, including my own. And Thursday is the Thursday Q&A, which is 7 a.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Right. So those are all the live calls we have currently. And all of the live calls get recorded and then dropped into the group. And all of the previous Wiser Wednesdays, which how many is there, Nate? It's got to be dozens and dozens and dozens, like way more than we have listeners to Waste No Day at this point. Yes. Like 4 dozen or something, right? It's got to be 60, 80.
Yeah, it is.
Wiser Wednesdays with some of the top voices in the home services, in sales, in business building, in technician building, which is what we're mostly about, and self-development. Some really phenomenal episodes in there, and it's a little bit different. It's not too far off from the people that come on Waste No Day, but it's a little bit different in that they just talk for 30, 40 minutes and then open up to Q&A, and you hear or see, because it's video, people asking them questions live and getting answers from them live. So it's a little bit different format. Really cool stuff. We've been pushing it here this past week inside the group to get more people cracking those old videos open, because there's so much wisdom in them. Even as I'm getting them chopped up to drop little clips of them inside the group, I'm like, man, some freaking fire in here. And that I needed, like, right as I was watching some of those videos, like perfect timing for me. So you know how that is. It would be the same for you. So if you're in there, get in the classroom, get in the Wiser Wednesday catalog, press play, let that sucker play while you're driving or whatever, when you're all caught up on Waste No Day. And if you're not in there yet, Anthony Hamilton, ask them what they're waiting for, bro.
Well, what are you waiting for? I mean, I've been listening to Waste No Day for a while, probably a year and a half, and it took me a minute to get in there. But I've learned a lot through being in there, and I felt like I was a pretty good salesman prior, but I definitely
and trainer
hone my skills and trainer. I've had my own company for 7 years now, but
the real question is, do you have a CPAP machine, Anthony? That's the test right there.
What do I need that for?
Anthony's pretty fit, bro. He's you know what I mean? He's not Brian and Nate overweight over here. Not that matters, because I was like 8 years old snoring and probably need a CPAP then, but certainly being fit and not having a neck the size of your head like I do would probably help with that.
I'm trying to put on some weight, I got to get in the gym more.
All right, well, enough of this.
You got to get in the restaurant more, my man. You're not going to put on weight in the gym.
Let's get going here, Anthony. So appreciate all the shout outs there and the encouragement. That is some legitimate encouragement, I believe. And we do the same. But Anthony, we're here to talk about your story and really what gets you awake in the morning. So why don't you tell us why and how you even got into the whole trades to begin with?
Well, I grew up, my dad worked for the city growing up, and to provide for the family, he would always do, we call them side jobs, not side jobs from the company he worked for, but just handyman type stuff. So as a kid, I was basically my dad's helper. We were building fences on the weekend, painting houses, doing tile, whatever it was. And I remember my dad always telling me, after a long day driving home, you go to school, get a degree, use your brain, not your body, that kind of stuff. But I always enjoyed it. Being a kid, you recover pretty quick. So I didn't really know what he meant. Now I do, as you get older.
Starting to find out. Yeah. Starting to make sense.
That you can't do it forever. Right. But, so I was always very familiar with blue collar work, and, helped my dad build a patio deck cover and all this stuff when I was a kid. And, I was in college, and I had a bunch of friends, graduating with degrees, having a hard time finding jobs. And this is after the 07, 08, financial crisis we had. And the short version is I met the owners of a plumbing company, and I had 1 year left of college. I decided to quit college and go work for these guys.
Wow.
And yeah, there were some promises made and some things that seemed really attractive. And with what I was hearing from friends that were going to college, it just felt like a great opportunity. So I went in and I learned the trade. I was moved into a sales role because as a 21-year-old, I was doing pretty well in sales. I think my first month in a sales role, this was in 2010, I sold 102 or 110,000, something like that. It was in the six digits. But again, back in 2010. And so went through a little bit of a sales role, and then they moved me into an assistant manager role in the office. And I kind of just worked, customer service, dispatch. I did a little bit of everything. And it was doing a little bit of everything that made me realize that, and years of being in it, that there's a better way of doing it. And if you actually dedicate yourself to learning and growing and reading the books, and nowadays listening to podcasts and audiobooks and everything, that you can actually make a great career out of working in the trades. So here I am with my own plumbing business, and trying to help others realize that same dream.
It is awesome, right? I mean, I know we probably pause on this pretty often, but I still feel like not enough. Even, how old are you?
37.
Yeah, so you're 9 years younger than me. Goodness, everybody's younger than me anymore. But I remember specifically being a teenager and having family in plumbing, and I still have family with plumbing businesses. And, I saw 3-4 managers of plumbing teams that I was either in or around, where the founder / owner died and just left a bunch of debt to his spouse, and running around like hair on fire trying to figure out how to pay bills and collect money from people who owe. And there was no money there, right? And this was the trades in the home services for, I don't know, all of time until here pretty recently. And now all of a sudden there's good money in the trades to do more than just that, or just build a business and hand it down to the next generation. Not that there's anything wrong with that if it's done well by any stretch. I think that's still an amazing, noble goal that we can still look forward to and partake in the trades. But the fact that now there's more and bigger things available makes me genuinely excited to be part of this thing. Really excited for the future to see where this thing goes. I mean, all I ever hear about is AI now and how different things are going to look in a few years. I'm not really, there's a little bit of me that's concerned. Like, I don't know what my kids' world looks like when they're my age, but I'm not like worried about it. I'm more excited and hope I get to be here for a while to see where things go. But it's an exciting time to be in our world right now.
I think a lot of times people go in the direction of like starting your own company and building your own business, but the reality is most people aren't doing that, and the stress of it is extremely high. I think if I could go back in time and work for a company like mine, I wouldn't want to start my own company because I could have a great income and a great life. I mean, I remember being 22 years old. I had my own apartment, my own one bedroom apartment. I had a brand new Ford Mustang. I was living the dream as a 22-year-old, and
turned your cell phone off when you got home.
Yeah, turned my phone off.
Remember those days?
Got the clock out, but I think that's one of the differences between me and most people, is that I never really did clock out, and I think that's a big thing that people miss out on is they do clock out, and then it's like, okay, well, the next day I go to work, and when I'm at work is when I work, and then when I'm done, I'm done. And people don't realize that you have to invest in yourself. It's just like working out. You have to be in the gym every day working out to get stronger, to get leaner, to, whatever your goal is in the gym.
or to just stay where at the fitness level you're currently at, because it is much like the mind and the talents that we are not talents, but the skills that we acquire along the way, they atrophy. Everything is use it or lose it. Everything of value is use it or lose it. And if we don't go get fit and work on ourselves, we get weaker, we get older, we get more frail. Same thing happens to our mind. Same thing happens to our communication skills and everything that we learn in conversational dynamics. I don't even want to say like persuasion and selling, but just in general, the less we're out there among people getting uncomfortable in conversations, the more we suck at it. Like it just goes away. It's like Ken Goodrich told me when I was 24. We're green and growing, or we're brown and dying. There's no such thing as just being stagnant. We're heading in a direction.
Yeah,
I think this. Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
Earlier you mentioned something, and oh man, I started to talk over you, Nate, and I lost my train of thought.
Come on, Nate.
Yeah, this is a poor entry into that part of the conversation.
Nate starts talking. Anthony just without even thinking about it starts rolling his eyes. It's just a natural thing, and he's like, "What was I talking about?"
Well, Anthony, I do appreciate what you're saying. I think it lines up with the bio that we read before you came on here, which says that you are passionate about leadership, building high-performance teams, and raising the bar in the trades through service excellence and world-class culture. And I want to start off there because that feels like the appropriate place to kind of take the episode is around this passion about leadership and high-performance teams and raising the bar. Go back to the concept that you were talking about there, where people have this dichotomy of their life. Like I'm either at work or I'm at home, right? And for many people, they want to draw that very black line between those two. And I appreciate that as somebody who that line is almost imperceivable anymore to some degree. You know, I wish there probably was more of a line there, and it would be nice to like totally disconnect. And I do get that opportunity from time to time. But there is, you know, if you're looking for more in the trades, if you're looking for more in any company really, and you're looking to grow, it is about seeking out those opportunities and chasing after them. And sometimes that means it doesn't all fit within the hours of 7 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever you work. And I was just talking to my two oldest sons before I got on the mic here, and we were having a conversation about opportunity. And I was chastising one of them a little bit regarding the fact that he has a pretty high perception of what he's worth for mowing my yard. And I'll admit to Brian's not shock that I do not pay a high dollar amount for them to mow my yard.
No shock there. No.
With my mower and my gasoline and my training wheels and everything else. But it's consistent work. They get to mow my yard at any time. And so what happened?
Get to. Right.
Yeah, get to. That's right. Exactly right.
I was having dinner at Nate's one time, and his son Cody came up to him and said, "Dad, can I borrow $20? Nate was like, $10? What do you need $5 for?"
So my oldest son, he started off mowing the yard, right? And you know, he was doing this for like a summer, and then we have a neighbor 2 doors up, and she saw this, and she decided to do what we would call an economic disruption into the wage and hour of the neighborhood, right? And so she paid 5 times what I pay for my yard. And
$5.
It's amazing. Well, 5 times 0 is still
making it
5,
rain.
but okay.
Making it rain.
So she swept up my oldest mower, and the torch and the wheels got passed on to my second son. Well, he knows that his older brother makes 5 times what he does to do the task of mowing the yard. And so he has this mentality right now that if it's not this like big dollar figure in his eyes and his wallet, it's not worth his time. And I was was trying to explain to him that you got to start with the opportunities that you have. You have to start with those, and then better opportunities will be afforded to you by having that level of consistency and persistency and just devotion and hard sweat equity, right? So kind of going back to your concept there about, people who want more and maybe are kind of stuck in this, well, when I'm at home, I'm at home. And I'm not saying every job needs to be that way, but talk to what you think it means to level up, to be pursuing excellence, to be developing yourself, investing in yourself, even if it doesn't necessarily mean you're making what you think you deserve at the time.
I had to take some notes because there's a few points that I wanted to touch on here, but
Good question, by the way.
yeah,
Good
great
stuff.
question, Nate. So in the past, I've heard Brian talk about work-life balance and how you have to earn it. And I've always felt that, but I never really put the words to it in the way that you did, Brian. And I think, I mean, even in this conversation, Nate, you were mentioning how that line is still so blurred. It's absolutely blurred for me. It doesn't exist. And so I think one of the things that most people are looking for is getting to a point in life where they can feel like they have a good balance and they can work and still do the things that they love to do. And in Brian's words, you have to earn that. And so for me, um, you know, I was told once that you have to pick up the 20s on the way to the hundreds. So if like all you're looking for is the best job and the highest pay and all those things, like, well, it's going to be a while before you find that. So don't walk over the 20s. You're not going to walk over a $20 bill on the road because all you want to do is pick up a $100 bill. And so pick up the 20s on your way to the hundreds. Um, Another thing that you just mentioned, I tell my son every day, I get to go to work today, not I have to go to work today. And so I look at it as an opportunity, just the fact that I can get up and go to work. And so, for those that are looking for more, I think the first thing is taking responsibility for the outcomes in your life. There's going to be things that happen to you that are outside of your control, but you can still own how you handle those things, how you approach them. And so I think responsibility and accountability is definitely the first step in achieving what it is that's more that you want out of life. Another one is going to be discipline, which is, having consistent action. Like you can't just do it for a day or do it for a week or do it for a month and expect those things, right? Like we're all in the trades. You guys are in management roles or leadership roles. And I'm sure you can attest to the fact that people are always wanting a raise and they're like, but I've been crushing it for the last 2 months. It's like, well, yeah, but what about the 7 months
This
before
is
that?
generational.
Yeah, this doesn't stop, right? And so people just think that like, oh, I've been doing great for a short period of time. I should just be earning the world and I should have that balance. But you have to build over time. And it's not just about money. It's not just about time spent at home versus at work. But for me, I've built work into my personal life and personal life into work. And I try to have those two things as connected as possible, because then I don't need a balance. A balance is taking two things that are opposing and trying to create an equal weight.
Yeah.
But if those two things just become one, there's no longer a need to balance it. So um,
So, Anthony, my field of study is actually architecture. And when I got out of high school and I was getting ready to go into college, I was encouraged to really get some construction field work as a benefit to learning architecture, right? So it would be a whole lot easier to learn architecture and to understand how it all works and puts together on paper if I'd actually gone and done it myself with my hands. And so I did a couple summers as a carpenter and did anything from roofing to framing to siding to whatever, right? Just a whole bunch of different experiences, concrete, like you name it. Got all kinds of things. Began to understand how a house is built and where it starts foundationally in the footings and the excavation, to then the block or the poured walls on top of it, to then sill plate and the framing and the joists and the walls and the insulation and you name it. So we spoke a little bit off air before we got started about the idea of like the elements of a house. Like if your life was a house, would it pass inspection? And I think you began the journey with the two things you just mentioned there, about discipline and those types of things as elements of the house that if it was to be inspected, if it had to measure up to code, if it was the house that you really wanted to build, not the one that was slapped together overnight, not the one that's going to fail the code inspector, not the one that's going to be a danger to live in, or the one that's leaking air like a sieve because it doesn't have insulation, or the HVAC system or the water heater isn't, installed correctly. Not that type of house, like the one that you would actually like to live in, analogous to your actual life. I want to walk through some of those concepts with you because I think it's an interesting illustration that most people listening in the trades can appreciate. And that, of course, is what are the foundational elements to any good house? What are the foundational elements to any good life to begin? I think you mentioned a few, but perhaps you could go through a couple more that you have.
Absolutely. And hey, man, you always crush it with the
Crushing with the question. Before you get there, Anthony, go ahead to your notepad and start scribbling like you've been doing.
We don't have to make guests take notes, so this,
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous.
And I, what it looks like, I'm guessing if you tilted the camera down to your notepad, is you're jotting down things he's saying, and then you're jotting down things that you want to respond, right? Is that what you're doing?
not my responses, but definitely things he's saying, because
Okay.
Nate
Yeah.
is so good at articulating everything, but it takes a minute because
Yeah, it takes forever.
well thought.
Yeah.
And so I have to remember to come back to these things.
Right. Well thought. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So to me, the foundation is personal responsibility. That's the number one thing. You have to take personal responsibility for the things that happen in your life. There's a quote that Grant Cardone says, it's success is your duty, obligation, and responsibility. So I think it starts with responsibility. Going back to architecture, I would say discipline is your framing.
Who do you? So okay, let's start off before we get to the framing. We have a duty and a responsibility to be successful, and let's not define success, but whatever avenue, as you are listening in the driver's seat of this truck and thinking, yes, this is where I need to be successful, then stick with that. But Anthony, from your point of view, who do you owe that to? Like, it's your duty to whom?
I think your duty changes through different phases of life, but it starts out with yourself. Your duty to yourself and for me, it's myself, my family, my team at work, my community. Community could be your neighbors, right? You want to be neighborly or whatever. I think
maybe you want to change your neighbors.
Yeah,
making more money is an easy way to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and wherever it starts for you and for me and for you guys on the call with me, it's like, maybe it's your creator. To you, to me, certainly I have a creator that I believe in that endowed me with certain talents and certain gifts. And even if not, a real leg up on some people in that I have been gifted the ability to learn and develop skills. And that is a gift and a talent all in itself, because there are people who are developmentally disabled who don't have the opportunity to do that. So even the gift of being able to develop skills and learn skills, for me, should feel like there's a weight attached to that, right? A responsibility to now go out there and develop as many skills as I possibly can. And you guys were going back and forth earlier on the earning the work-life balance. And I don't know where I got the earn it part, except that in the back of my head since 2004, I remember Brian Tracy in maybe The Psychology of Selling, one of his books that I was listening to on audio cassette tape, and I loved it. I love it when the author reads his own book, even when it's as dry and monotone as Nate Minnick or Brian Tracy. because they have a very similar affect, which is none, right?
Thanks, Brian.
Not at all. Yeah. But, and I get a lot of my texts in every team I've been on since 2004, where I'm like, if you come up to me and you saw a job that I sold and you're like, how in the world? Or we role played and you liked what I did. How'd you learn that? Like it's been 22 years. I've been telling people, start with The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. Start with that. And like, let's work our way to different, there's all kinds of stuff now, right? But it's very foundational. And one of the things he said in there that grabbed me early on was, in the beginning of your career, you are an airplane sitting on the tarmac, right? You're on the ground. In fact, you're not even moving yet. And so many people want to put it into cruising speed and like put their hands back in autopilot and put their feet up on the controls. It's like you haven't even left the ground yet. So imagine having it in cruising speed and you're trying to get altitude. It wouldn't work, right? You have to pull that throttle back and kick the thrusters on. You got to give it some real power for a certain amount of time. And the way Brian Tracy explained it, that it was poetry to me. Nothing had hit me that hard and made that much sense to me to that point. And then eventually you get to cruising altitude. Like you've made it. And now you can, so you don't burn out, you push the throttle forward quite a bit and you have the directions inputted in and you click it into autopilot and you just let the thing coast for a while, right? Until it's time to land, or you're going through turbulence or a storm or whatever. And then you better get back on the controls, and you're going to go through these storms. So be ready. So that made a lot of sense. That landed for me really hard. And the funny thing is I never get to sit in at cruising altitude very long, because I feel like my role, every time I get to cruising altitude, my role changes, right? Blessing, no doubt. Like it's a good thing, but I get responsibility added, or I change my career path in some slight way, and we start onto something else. And now I have to be this, right? And this isn't what I've been previously, but I better get good at it, and I better get good at it fast. And how do we get good at it? In cruising speed, or in, what do you call it? Takeoff speed? I don't know, but throttle back, hold on, here we go, buckle up. And we get back to cruising altitude again. And all too often, I do want to say it's generational, because I do find, I don't say this often because I think many of the hardest working dudes I've ever worked with are dudes in their 20s and early 30s right now. I mean, so many of them vastly outwork the guys that were 40 when I was in my 20s, who all they say now is the millennials suck at everything. It's like, you weren't that good. I remember. You weren't that hard a worker either, you know? But one thing I see a lot of is I've shown up, we're 60 days in, like, where's my award? Where's my praise? Where's my raise? Are you going to be putting me in your position anytime soon? Like, when are you going to retire, bro? Right? That's, and not those exact words, but that is the feeling, right? You guys notice this, or is it just me? Makes sense, right? This tracks. There's a lot of 20-year-olds turning it off right now. They're going back to listen to Joe Rogan or something. But no, it feels like a real thing. And part of the reason that you have to be in in takeoff speed until you get to cruising altitude, because here's what happens. And right now, literally today, on a Monday, just saw it happen to a guy who was cruising. He was crushing his sales. He's very new. Just recently got into his truck. And he was crushing it. Every day he was selling good-sized jobs on whatever. Maintenance call, drip and faucet, checking everything in the home, getting these big jobs locked up, 5-star reviews with pictures and videos and you name it. And he took a week off early. And he came back today, and I think he went 0 for 4. And I mean, like, reviews is the only thing he's bringing to pay his bills. And reviews are great and everything, but they don't pay bills, right? And what happens is, and I try to stress this to the young guys, the reason you want to stay at takeoff speed until you get to cruising altitude is you're not a superstar salesperson yet in your first few months running a good system, right? A system will help tremendously. And you get this energy when you start selling that carries and transfers, and you bring it to the next call with you and the next call, and you get in these patterns, as Daryl Robinson called it, talking to me this afternoon as I was leaving the shop. And when you take yourself out of the system, your energy calms down, and you come back and you think you're going to do it the exact same, but it doesn't work that way. You are learning your process and your personality and how you interact with your clients as you are part of that pattern. Or I'm at a loss for the exact words on what I'm trying to say, but I'm sure you guys have, I know you've seen this before, Nate, because we've talked about it many times over the years. I'm sure you've seen it, Anthony, where new cat gets into an amazing pattern of energy mixed with process, mixed with passion, right? And enthusiasm. And he can't miss. And he's off Saturday, Sunday, and all of a sudden you get that Monday morning sniffles, and he calls in Monday. Young guys love to do this too. They're very sick. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, I'm sure they barely made it to work on Tuesday. And all of a sudden on Tuesday, they can't close a screen door, right? And then it takes them time. And it's not like Wednesday they get back and they start crushing it. It's like a process of getting back to that. And the longer you can go in those patterns of excellence or success, the more you figure out how to keep it going while you're doing it. But when you take a step away, you feel like it gets undone. And oftentimes what happens, the worst thing that can happen, is you come down really hard on yourself when you get into that rut, and you make the rut that painful, brutal hell of a dry spell last way longer than it has to, because you get down on yourself. And we get that. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody when I was younger. Up to this point, I was super, super lucky. I wasn't very good, but people thought I was. And now my luck has finally run out, right? And you get down on yourself and you kick yourself a bit. And you turn a bad day into a bad week, into a bad month, into sometimes you leave the field, right? You leave the career. This happens to people. Versus, man, if you're hot, keep your hand in the game. Do not pull your cards off the table until you get that whole pot, right? And the pot's never ending, so you're just going to be here for a while. Does that make sense? Does that track with you, Anthony?
Yeah, I think people's perspective is too narrow. You know, talking about cruising altitude in a position and how every time you get there, you end up getting into a new position. I think people need to zoom out. And that's what happens as you grow. You start to zoom out your perspective a bit. At this point, I'm thinking on terms of decades. But 10 years ago, I was thinking in terms of like surviving the week.
This afternoon.
So, yeah, maybe the day. And so getting to cruising altitude, you know, growth is like a staircase. There's levels to it. And every time you get to the next step, there's always a next step. And so, but I think that goes back to like, what are you looking for in life? You have to figure out long term, zoom out, big picture. What are you looking for? Because if you don't do that zoom out, then you're too focused. Your focus is too narrow, and it's harder to figure out what disciplined actions, which is the second thing here, disciplined actions you need to be doing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis to actually get you there.
So if it's not too elementary, Anthony, I want to make sure I understand properly. The first, like foundational to you in this illustration is responsibility. When you define responsibility, what does that sound like, look like, act like in shoe leather? Like in the real world, when you say, well, you got to be responsible, what does that actually mean to the listener today?
Well, nobody's coming to save you. in life. So your current situation might not be your fault. You know, we all start at different places in life, but it is your responsibility to take your life from wherever it's at right now that you're unhappy with to a place that you are happy with. So, I mean, that's how I define it. I just feel like you have to take responsibility. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
And there's a reason that that's the foundation of things, because if you're unwilling to accept that you are responsible for where you got in your life, then all you ever are is the victim, right?
Exactly.
And what can you build upon a victim mentality except more victimhood? That is the only thing that can be built upon that heap of trash. So I agree with you that responsibility in many ways is foundational to everything that goes on top. And if you can have that as your foundation, you can then apply discipline. But how can you apply discipline if all you ever have is excuses? I mean, Brian says you're a fit guy. I don't know you personally. You look fit for sure from the torso up, from what I can see. But like, you can't build discipline in the gym when you wake up and say, I don't really feel like going to work out this morning. I don't really feel like doing it. Hey, I worked out hard last week. This is my off week. Like, you can't build discipline upon that type of irregularity. You can't build discipline upon that level of laissez-faire approach. There has to be responsibility, and to what? First to yourself, and then to others that you count as loved ones, dependents, community members, those types of things. So as you continue with that and you're building on this discipline, where do we go from there? So we got that good layer. We're like, okay, we're responsible. I'm a responsible person. I'm going to start applying discipline, which probably means that I'm going to start to get some momentum, a little bit of regularity in my life, a little bit of like, cool, even if it's not big wins, I'm experiencing wins on the regular simply because of discipline. I might not look like the Hulk over here, but I go to the gym, multiple times a week, and here's what's that getting me. Okay, where do we go after we get some discipline?
Well, the first thing is, a minute ago, you just mentioned feelings. Discipline and feelings are so far apart from each other that you can't go any farther apart. So discipline, first of all, is not a feeling. Discipline is a repeated behavior that moves you toward your goal, towards what the life that you want. So it's choosing what you want most over what you want right now. In the morning, your alarm goes off. What you want right now is to hit snooze and snuggle in bed for another 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have discipline, it doesn't matter that you feel like staying in bed. You get up and you do it because you know that that's what's going to move you forward. And to relate it to, technicians in the trades, someone who's sitting in the driver's seat right now, you got to get up every morning and do something. Like, you're going to go do physical work today. Don't roll into work feeling tired and sluggish and take that same approach into every job that you do, but get up, be active, at least get up and stretch so you don't hurt yourself, do something. So I think it's about waking up early, working out ideally, eating well, taking a shower. I mean, how many guys have you guys seen that come into work to go into somebody's home and they didn't shower and do their hair or even put on their uniform? Their uniform's half unbuttoned and untucked. It's like,
Or brush their teeth. I'm a big, I'll call you out on the not brushing your teeth thing. Cause you can see it, right? I mean, you can't see it in the mirror. So you're like, I'm cool. I'll chew some breath mints or whatever. But in 3D, it's very visible. So I'm like, bro, did you brush your teeth this morning? Like, no, man, I brush them at night. I'm like, you brush them at night and then you lay there with your mouth open, a 99-degree moist mouth open all night or closed. Like, it really doesn't matter. It's just bacteria and breath. And come on, like, our team deserves better if we got to see you in the morning. Your client certainly deserves better, and you deserve better, right? Like, take every little minor precaution, like hopping in the shower. Look, if you're a night shower guy, and I hear this often and have for 22 years, take your good scrub, whatever, exfoliating or whatever you do in the shower at night. But in the morning, get the bird bath or whatever. Just jump in, rinse off, wash your whole face and everything with body soap like I do. I use freaking face soap and all this nonsense. Just scrub down quick, 5 minutes, out, brush your teeth, and roll. It's adding 10 minutes to your day, but you feel 10 times better, and it is very visible on the rest of us, whether you took these early morning steps or not.
I wake up and take a cold shower every single day. There isn't a day that I don't take a cold shower. And I found that no matter how I woke up feeling, you take a cold shower, you get out of the shower, you feel like a different person.
Yeah, I remember when I lived in a place where you could take cold showers.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Much of that. You know, a great book for discipline or developing discipline is Atomic Habits. I know you have a book list in BCC, but
It's in there.
you know, Atomic Habits is great, and I actually used that last year in January to develop a new morning routine. And it started out with putting a glass of water on the nightstand before bed, so that way I'd wake up and hydrate every morning because I'm really bad about drinking water.
Yeah, you know what the other part is great about that? I get a lot of people asking me recently saying like, dude, I'm not trying to get up at 3:45 with you, but and I've been here. I was this person for a long time. The alarm goes off. I hit snooze twice. I can't hit it the third time or I'll be late for work. Now I'm scurrying to get ready and off I go to work. And people say, this is me now, but I want to get up a lot earlier than I have to. How are you making it so that, or in the beginning, because this isn't an issue now, but it was, you have to work through it, right? Where you actually get out of bed and get moving. I'm like, all right, here's the plan.
It's my
24.
disciplines.
So your phone, if your phone's your alarm, which is most people's alarm, I know this is going to suck. Take your phone, put it on vibrate, put it on something soft on the other side of the room, as far away as you can get it and still hear it, and turn the alarm all the way up. 24 ounces of water sitting on the nightstand next to you, right? Alarm goes off. Sit up, chug the water. By the time you get to the phone, guess what you got to do now? You got to go to the bathroom. And by the time you get out of the bathroom, you're not dying to get back in the bed. That ship has sailed. This works. This is a real thing that will actually make someone who struggles to do this get up and get out of bed and get moving. Now, that's obstacle one. Now you've got, I sit on my phone and scroll whatever social media you're into, or start railing through all the emails or whatever and get caught up. Whatever it is, you have all these other distractions you have to move through. You got to figure that part out on your own. Best bet, if you're not doing anything in the morning, let's just start by taking a walk, right? If you're in Nate's area, I pity you taking a walk in early March. But let's just drink the water, go take your leak or whatever you got to do, get the alarm turned off because you're going to piss off the person who's laying next to you. And now head out. Grab your hoodie or whatever and get out and go for a walk. Walk fast. Don't start with running because you're not going to do it the next day. Just a nice brisk walk. Maybe get a step app and count. I'm going to get 4,000 steps on this walk. So 2,000, and then head back to the house. And now get in there and get ready like you normally would and head into the shop. And here's what you're going to notice. Your brain's working better. You feel better about today than you have felt about a day in the morning, maybe ever, but in a long time. You have a different type of energy than you're used to. And when you get to the shop, everyone seems a little more pleasant. Why? Because you're a little more pleasant. I know it's all their fault, but watch and see if this doesn't work. If they don't reflect back what they see on you. And then go in there and try to give them some of that good cheer that you're carrying around with you. But that's the way. That's the way to start. The way to start getting up early. Phone as far away as you can put it and still hear it. Big old tub of water, 24 ounces or so. Chug a lug. It's difficult to drink in the morning. I have the same issue. Doesn't matter at this point. It's just what we do. And off you go. Cheat code.
So, Anthony, you mentioned while Brian was talking there about micro disciplines. And I want to keep going on with that concept as we, are building this house here. So the micro disciplines, big disciplines, micro disciplines form larger ones, which form larger ones, which form habits, and et cetera, et cetera. But eventually, we're not just living like this perpetually, right? We want to see gains. We want to see wins. We want to see the next thing. Am I ready for it? Is my house ready for that inspection? Where are we taking it?
Well, the next pillar for me is your attitude and your mindset. So, maybe your electrical system, because that powers everything,
Hmm.
your attitude and your mindset. You can have, I'm trying to keep it on technicians, right? So for guys that are working out in the field, you can have two different technicians show up to the same job and end up with completely different outcomes. You guys will know Thomas from my team. He's in BCC. He just showed up to a maintenance call last week, a tankless water heater maintenance call. We go out and service tankless water heaters every year. This is a $300 call. He shows up and sells $6,000 and sold a water filtration system and something else to go with it. I think an earthquake shutoff valve for their gas meter. And we could have sent a different technician to that job, and it would have been $295. But instead, this technician with the right attitude and the right mindset going into it served the client, did a water test with them, talked to them about water quality, and sold a $6,000 job. And so I think that's the next pillar.
Hmm. Yeah, and how important is that, man? Because to use your your choice, it keeps the lights on bright, and there's an attractiveness to light, right? There's an attraction to light. I love my house. We renovated a year or two ago, and I love lights in my house because we had one of those houses that some rooms didn't have a light in them. The entire room was lit up by lamps, right? So you had to always have a lamp in the corner on a piece of furniture or whatever. And well, number one, it's annoying. But number two, it's not particularly great at actually lighting up the room. And so now we have, overhead can lights and everything else. And I love it because I can see and it's bright and it's attractive. And we have windows, and the windows bring in the light, and they make, our kitchen has two skylights in it. And it lights up the kitchen in such a way that even if it's a fairly dark day, when we don't have the lights on, it still feels very warm and welcoming in there. And I love that you picked the electrical system because that is the attitude of attractiveness that we can or cannot bring with us. And which house do you want to walk into? The one that's dingy or the one that's, lit up like a Christmas tree? Which person do you want to hang out with? The one that's always dark and down or the one that's bright and up? Which person do you want to be so that others want to hang out with you? It's such a great choice, and it is a choice. It is a choice, the attitude and what comes with it.
We here at the water heater company, we do a quote of the day. And with every quote of the day, we do like a little mini lesson. And I post most of them. Some of our leadership team will post. Sometimes our technicians get involved and post one if they're feeling something on a particular day. But with attitude, there's William James, I think he's known as the founder of American psychology, says the greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitude.
Hmm.
I think it's so fundamental toward, building the life that you want to have.
Yeah. Well, how many pillars do you have, Anthony? We should have talked about that before we got started.
7 or 8.
Okay. All right. So we got 3. We got responsibility. We got discipline. We got attitude and mindset. Take us through the rest of them.
We've got character and integrity. Doing what's right even when nobody's looking, or doing what you need to do, whether you're going to get credit for it or somebody's going to see it or not. A lot of times these things that we're disciplined about, nobody ever sees it, right? They see the tip of the iceberg, but they don't see all the work and all the sacrifices that you had to make below the surface. So I think character and integrity is what would come next. And I actually just discovered a book this weekend. I don't know if you guys know who David Cook is. He was the sports psychologist that worked with the San Antonio Spurs when they won a couple of championships in the early 2000s. he has a book called Greatness. And so I had never heard of him. I had never read the book or anything, but I did a quick little bit of research on him. And he has a quote or a video that I watched where he says, greatness is defined as selfless exceptionalism. And so, you know, when you talk about character and integrity, selfless exceptionalism was kind of an interesting concept. It's not just about doing what's best for you or what you can be exceptional at for yourself, but also for others. I haven't quite worked through all my thoughts on the quote and his book and stuff because I haven't read it yet. But, you know, just being truthful, being honest with people. One of our core values at the water heater company is total transparency. We have nothing to hide from anyone. We actually have a client that posted a review about how she has a camera system around her property, and there's audio as well. And she said that she went in the house and she was watching the cameras of our technician who was also training somebody. This technician's name is Zach. He was training someone who was learning, and she said she was watching the camera, and you know how tradesmen can be. We can say some things that are.
I had butterflies in my stomach as you're telling this story. Like, oh boy, this could go sideways.
100%, especially if we think nobody's watching. And he said something along the lines, I'm going to butcher what she said, but she mentioned something that he said, which was, you know, we always want to do a thorough assessment and make sure that we give clients options that actually help them and benefit them. And I'm not even doing it justice because this review was like unbelievable. I got to find out who it is so I can get a video test.
Yeah, post it in BCC and I'll put it in the Waso Day Facebook group.
I'll find it and post it. It was just unreal, and it was a super proud moment for me. But you know, that integrity is going to go a long way in your career and life. I mean, just the more people that can trust you and your character, the more opportunities that will open up for you. And I think that's one of the things that's made me successful is having opportunities presented to me, number one, and then also saying yes to them.
That's so good.
Yeah,
saying
yes to him.
Give that technician not only a shout out, but pull him up front and like be like this guy, right? Like how incredible is that?
Think about. I was being told by a technician a story of him and another technician within like this year in 2026, where they walk out of a house. And technician 2 is telling me the story, and technician 1 walks out right after him and stops him and said, dude, that client is the hottest chick I've ever seen in my life. And as tech 2 turns around to see him saying it, he sees the Ring camera with the little, not Ring, but a door camera with the little light on. Like, there's no way that conversation wasn't recorded. And hey, maybe she's cool and flattered, and maybe it's her husband watching, and maybe he's flattered that you didn't, they didn't get disrespectful or anything. But, well, I mean, they didn't get any more disrespectful than that, and that's certainly not the way you want to talk about a client. I didn't find out if Tech 1 was married or anything, because that's certainly crossing a disrespect line. But yeah, imagine. And I know it gets worse than that, right? I mean, I had a personal experience with it where we were on candid camera, and I had an apprentice with me, and it was 2 young ladies, probably in their early 20s, back when I was in my early 20s, and they were beautiful women. And this was a sting. This was a sting to set up contractors. And right at the front door, they say, we're going to go get dressed. They're in pajamas. We're going to go get dressed. We'll be right back. It's right there in the kitchen. And he just immediately starts. And I just elbow him, and I'm like, bro, keep it. We're in their house. Like, just keep it professional. And then come to find out, it was all being recorded, audio and video. And they were playing video on this sting of people with wedding rings on, hitting on these girls, and telling them they needed a gas repipe for their garbage disposal that was leaking. Like, you name it, they did it. It got pretty bad. But yeah, we're always on video. We're always being recorded on audio. I showed some of the techs at my shop recently where I live in one of those communities where we don't have mailboxes on the houses. Like you walk across the street into this center island and there's like a little dog walking park area with poop bags or whatever. And then the mailbox stack with the doors with the keys where you go get your mail, right? And it's a haul. Like it's across the street. And my Ring camera goes off, my doorbell cam one day, and I watch my wife and 2 youngest daughters walk over to the mailbox together. And I'm like, look at this. I mean, it's so far away across the street, you can barely make them out, but you can hear every word they're saying. And they might as well be on the neighbor's porch, and you can still hear every word they're saying crystal clear. And that's just the fact. It's the world we live in these days. Good luck, because I would have failed this test. I'm telling you, it would have been a struggle for me. I had a potty mouth.
Well, character is so critical, Anthony, and great stories there. What else do you have as far as pillars for our house?
So the next one is, pillars for a house. I guess you could relate it to an aspect of architecture, but you become the average of the people you surround yourself with, or the 5 people you surround yourself with, whatever that quote is. And I think that's really expanded in today's environment with social media. And for me, I'm around my family and I go to work. That's the 2 things I do. I wake up in the morning, I'm with my family, I go to work, and I come home from work and I'm with my family, and I repeat that process. But we're all guilty of scrolling, whether it's, we don't have to talk about when we scroll, but, I think what most people do is they hop on Instagram, they scroll for 15, 20 minutes, and they're seeing all their buddies from high school and people that they don't even talk to anymore. But for me, I decided when I was 29, right before my 30th birthday, I was like, I'm going to cut all the noise out. I want signals, not noise. And so I unfollowed pretty much everybody, and I started following more of the things that I wanted to positively influence me. So Gary Vaynerchuk was one of the first influencers that I started following in the business space. There's tons of them. You can follow Gary Vaynerchuk, Alex Hormozy, Andy Elliott, Brian Burton.
Thank you.
Shout out there. But
Nate Minnick, but you won't be getting a whole lot.
No,
I don't know.
real quiet there.
Social media.
He is, but he's not there often.
I know Brian's posting every day at this point. So
yeah, two reels a day. So one like studio reel of me talking ahead, and then one where they take little clips of like the podcast and whatnot. But yeah, you're talking about curating your social media, and I hear guys all the time. Yeah, and I hear guys all the time who say to me, like, I would love to follow and like get these videos and stuff. They listen to Waste No Day, but they're not on social media, and they're not on because they get too wrapped up. Let's just call it the politics, but there's all kinds of things to get wrapped up in, right? And it gets way worse than politics. And if you're susceptible to whatever it is, then you shouldn't be anywhere near it. However, you can curate your social media by this. If you see something that you feel like you shouldn't be watching, click, I want to see less of this, right? Or block. Like if it's someone who's putting out stuff you don't want to, just block that person. And real quick, the algorithm figures out what you're going to block and what you're not. And if you see something you like and you want to see more of, like Brian Burton, like, comment, share, and then the algorithm goes more of this stuff, right? And for me, it's absolutely the guys you just named. Gary V, Alex Hormozy's a huge one for me. Tommy Mello, Doug Wyatt has amazing stuff. I feel like I'm going to leave a lot of people out, but there's a lot of great, even Pastor Mark Driscoll, who's the pastor of the church we attend here. And he always has these great 10, 15 second reels. He's one of these like punch a man in the mouth pastors where it all falls on me at the house, right? If it's going well, nice job. If it's not, it's my fault. Like I'm doing it wrong, right? And I need that all the time. I need it at Ben Franklin. I need it in Blue Collar Closer. I need it in Waste No Day. And I need it in the Burton household to know that, as Brian Tracy said, if it is to be, it's up to me. It's my job to make these things happen, or to take the hands-off approach enough that things just start naturally falling apart. But whichever way it's going, it's probably on me, right? So you curate your social media to be what it is that you know you should be seeing and hearing more of, and then the stuff that doesn't have any business in your life, just block it.
Yeah, I'd probably, going back to architecture, I'd probably relate this to your insulation. Keeps the temperature right.
That's so good.
You've got social media is a big one. You know, we all get our screen time updates on our phone every week about how much time we spend on Instagram. I mean, if you think about it, that time really adds up. And throughout a year, you spend probably a couple days worth of time on social media at the very least. And if every time you're getting on social media, you're getting an education in something that's going to make your life better, well, that's helping build the life that you want. And I think it goes beyond social media too. Going back to being in the truck, when I was in a truck, even when we started this company, it was mostly audiobooks. Nowadays, I'd be listening to nothing but podcasts and audiobooks, not music. You know, sometimes guys need music to like get pumped up or, you know, get their energy up for the day, maybe on your way into work or something like that. But
The gym.
you spend an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours a day driving in a truck from job to job. And what are you doing with that time? You're on the clock. For me, I would be listening to podcasts and audiobooks. You can finish, you know, what's the average audiobook? 5 to 10 hours. You could finish an audiobook a week and be 52 books under your belt by the end of 1 year, which is more than probably most people will read in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that you have to, going back to like, you're a product of your surroundings, of your environment and the people you surround yourself with. Well, I don't surround myself with a lot of people. I surround myself with, well, I do, but I do it through podcasts, audiobooks, and social media. And I make sure that those people are people who have figured certain things out that I haven't yet, so that I can learn from them and continue to build the life that I want.
It's so good, Anthony. And we are drawing down on this podcast. So take us rapid fire through the rest of your essentials. And then I have a couple questions for you at the end.
Sure. You know, we're talking about cruising altitude. I think the next one is continuous learning, which kind of ties back into the last one, but that's your maintenance. That's your upkeep on the house. You always have to have a beginner's mindset. You always have to still be learning. The moment you think that you know everything is the moment that all those disciplines start to fall off, because you're not listening to the podcasts and the audiobooks anymore. You're not bringing in new information. And then you start to actually not just keep what you have, but you start to lose the things that you once knew because nothing's there to reinforce it anymore. So you definitely want to do, you know, continuous learning. It's another one of our core values here at the Water Heater Company is better every day. The only way you get better every day is to have that beginner's mindset and act as though you still have something to learn. And then, you know, I could bring in more stuff, but professionalism, that's kind of like your outward appearance, you know, the external look of the house, the paint and all that, you know, your landscaping and all that stuff. It's how you present yourself, not just to clients, but to the world, to your workplace. You know, if you want to grow in your career, you need to look the part. You know, nobody's going to get promoted if they're coming in untucked, unkept, smelly breath, all that stuff every day. You have to set a standard, have some standards for yourself. And then I think I would say the final one is accountability, which goes back to the up to code. It's like, that's your final inspection, right? It's like, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your leadership team, they're going to be looking at you to see if you're doing all the things that you need to be doing to achieve that life. And you have to have some accountability for every single aspect of all those things.
Yeah, that's the great part about the circle, or the in your case the curated list is like, I mean, I try to surround myself with people who are either ahead of me in whatever games I'm playing in various aspects of life, or are pushing in the same direction I'm pushing in, right? But you can do the same thing with your list, which is, I was listening to Andy Frisella, the Real AF podcast. I wasn't listening to the podcast. I was just listening to a YouTube video of his that it's not about working out. He's the guy who created the 75 Hard program, which I've done. Well, I think I've done it 3 times. I've completed it twice, but it is how I quit drinking in 2020. I told all my buddies I was doing 75 Hard, so I couldn't drink. And then I quit drinking and I stopped hanging out with them. And I never hung out with them again after that. So that was that. But he's like yelling at you most of the time, right? You guys know who Andy Frisella is?
Yeah.
He's screaming at you. He's like, wake up, like do something. What are you doing? Like you're not doing anything. And might be on my way to the gym listening to somebody like him yelling at me because I still have I'm getting up. There's no question about it. At this point in the game, I am getting up. Should be getting up right when the alarm goes off at 3:45, if not a few minutes before. When I'm feeling good and healthy, I'm getting up before that alarm goes off. But at least when it goes off, no snooze. But oftentimes I turn the alarm off and make that mistake of letting the head hit the pillow as I go to take the CPAP off, you know? And I'm like, whew, Amelia feels warm and I'm cold and it just feels so much better. And I'm just like, all right, come on, get up. And I'm like dragging myself to the car and dragging the gas pedal to the gym and I'm just not feeling it. And I have an accountability partner, like you name it, Jocko, Goggins, Rogan, Andy Frisella, guests we've had on the show, Tim Kennedy, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann, who wrote the book, Nobody's Coming to Save You, to yell at me, right? And I'm not texting these guys, or even the ones that I can text. I'm not texting or calling them, but I'm putting on something to be yelled at on the way to the gym to get my butt in gear, because I don't want to get to the gym and have gone through all this that it takes to get yourself there and go through the motions to the point where like I didn't do any damage to my muscle and I don't have a pump, like no mental clarity that comes with the heavy exercise in the morning, right? So you don't want to waste it, but you get these audio, video accountability partners in your life, like I think you're talking about, Anthony, and you can have, it's such an awesome time to be alive. You can have a pep talk by one of the most disciplined people who's ever lived, David Goggins. Right now, you can pull over, pause this podcast, don't do it, finish up because we're almost done, and then leave a review, and then get a hold of Anthony and tell him how awesome he is. But you could pull over right now, open YouTube, play a David Goggins video, one of the most disciplined, maybe the most disciplined person who's ever lived. I don't know. He's got to be top 5, right? And you can get yelled at by that guy, like your personal coach. It's a phenomenal time to be alive. Been getting crap on social with people hitting me in comments or even private messages like, does every episode have to be, oh, how much Brian goes to the gym? And I'm like, I'm trying not to lash out, you know, because I'm like, I get it. Like when Lance used to do me like that all the time, and I didn't work out. And I would be looking all tired and sluggish and like boots untied in the morning meeting and shirt untucked. And he's like, bro, why can't you get up a half an hour earlier and do something? And he's lifted weights and done cardio in the morning at that point. And it was just a roll of the eyes like, oh, you're so amazing, Lance. Like, we're not worthy, you know. But I wish he had pushed me harder back when I was 24 or 25. So no, we're not going to stop talking about it. Get your ass to the gym. Get up in the morning and go do something. You want to be placated so you don't have to be feeling guilty about the fact that you're rolling out of bed 25 minutes before the morning meeting starts? Then why are you listening to Waste No Day? This is not the show for you. I don't know what it is, but it's not this.
It's funny you talk about the accountability partner because yeah, we can listen to Goggins and Cam Haynes and these guys that are just next level with their discipline. But there's other things too. Like, you got to look at your circle and see if there's somebody that's got something figured out that you don't. I interviewed someone today, and every time I interview someone, I always tell them that, we're a team that has high expectations. And if there's one thing that you get out of working here, is we're going to make you better, just better overall, because we're going to be your accountability partner. We're going to push you. You might not like it all the time. You might wonder why we're always talking about getting better all the time. Like you're saying about the gym, it's like always about the gym. But the reality is sometimes we need a little bit of pressure, right? It's that whole, pressure turns coal into a diamond thing. It's you have to reinforce that constantly, because nobody's perfect. I'm sure Goggins and Cam Haynes have their own version of someone or something that they listen to or do that's their accountability partner. And yeah, eventually you get to the point where you don't need as much of it, but we all need a reminder or kick in the butt sometimes.
Yeah, and then there's a part of it too, where it's like, the more I talk about it, the more I'm going to hear from some of you guys listening to this show right now on social that I helped you get off the couch and get to the gym, or I'm going to see someone at a trade convention or something here this year, and they're going to tell me that they lost 50 pounds and started making good money and started taking care of themselves because of Waste No Day. And it's like, there's a little bit of that to it, but it's also, when I say that I do these things over and over, and then you end up on the same floor as me at the Mandalay Bay for the Home Service Freedom Conference this come October. If I don't get up and go to the gym, I hear about it. Like, if people are in the gym from 5 to 6 and there's no Brian there, they're like, where were you? I hear about this. So I put these things in place to where I have to make sure I do the things I say I do, and that I am the person I say I am, or you guys are going to hold me accountable. And sucks in the moment, especially like last year at Home Service Freedom, because I think there were 3 morning, the gym in the tower we were in was awful and packed. So we went the first morning, and then the second and third morning, we just like got up and ate breakfast in the room and like watched TV, staring out the window over the strip. Like, we'd lived there for years, but we'd never been in a hotel room this high. And Tommy's team put us in a freaking corner unit with windows on both sides. I sent you pics, names like baller, so we would just eat, like stare out the window. It didn't even work out for 2 of the days. And then when I get to the conference and all I hear about is like, where were you? Didn't see you at the gym this morning. Thought you were working out. Thought you were the morning workout guy, So yeah, there's part of it is putting accountability level in place. Some of it's bragging, right? And I think that's what it feels like, why people lash out. And I don't want to say it like this is a common thing. There's just been a couple lately. So, maybe it feels like I'm just bragging that, haha, I get up earlier than you. I was bragging that I get up earlier than Jocko, because that felt pretty good. But then we had, who was it? Eric Parks?
Yeah.
Came on, said he gets up at 3:30. I'm like, son of a, I feel like he just said that because he heard me say 3:45. All right. Yeah. So last time we'll ever talk about the gym right there, guys. Sorry. That's it. Never again.
This has been great, Anthony. And I really appreciate the analogy. And all 8 of these are fantastic concepts: responsibility, discipline, attitude, mindset, character, integrity, curating your circle, continuous learning, professionalism, and accountability. And as we bring this in for Lanny, I have 2 ending questions for you. The first one is that anybody who's been in the trades or been in the home services at all knows the pain and agony of a failed inspection, right? You did all the work, or at least you thought you did, and then somebody comes out and says, nope, not good enough, or not the way it's supposed to be done, or et cetera, this needs to be corrected. And in many ways, everything that you listed in those 8 concepts, there's books, libraries, podcasts, actual play-by-play manuals, code books, if you will, about exactly how to do these things. and we still fail inspections every single day. As you reflect upon all the people that you've trained or interacted with, as you reflect upon yourself even personally, where do you feel out of those 8 the most code violations happen, and why?
Dang. Let's add that to every episode, every guest from now on, bro. That was killer. Nice setup. Great question. Now I'm digging into myself over here.
Always. I think it's kind of a circle, because I didn't know where your question was going to go, but you fail that inspection, and what do you need to do? So you take responsibility, you own the situation, you enact discipline, and you figure out what you need to do moving forward to avoid that failed inspection from happening again. And it's a flywheel. You keep repeating those.
So I think where he landed eventually, and I was very curious as to your answer, and I'm sure the audience is as well, is what's a common place, or where do you see yourself failing inspections the most that you would like to clean up?
It's definitely going to be discipline. I developed some really great habits last year, and got myself into really great shape. And then I got sick. The time change happened here in California the following week, and we started sleep training my 18-month-old or my 15-month-old that couldn't sleep longer than 2 hours. And I completely fell off the boat with getting up in the morning, working out, taking care of myself. And I noticed that my mental clarity started declining. My attitude started declining. Everything started declining. I don't feel as good anymore. My back started in. So discipline, I think, is the biggest one for most people. We have a leadership book club that we do here at the Water Heater Company. So all of our management team reads a book together, and every week we review those chapters. And we started it in January, and the book we started with was Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
Awesome.
And the reason we picked that book to start is because I think it's probably the most important one. Discipline.
Yeah. Agreed. That it is the foundation. So anybody wants to get a hold of Anthony, reach out, say what's up. Maybe they're moving out your way and want to see what it's like at the Water Heater Company. How do they get a hold of you?
You can call the Water Heater Company. You can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at the Anthony Hamilton. Thewaterheatercompany.com. Yeah, if you guys are looking for a great place to work, we're trying to build one here. You can always come on out and apply online. I don't have a podcast. I don't have anything to sell you guys other than a great place to work.
Yeah. You can also find them in thebluecollarcloser.com.
That is true.
And get a hold of us. However you get a hold of us, service@wastenoday.net or 279-2-CLOSER, which is our new our texting platform. You can text us now at any time at area code 279-225-5737. For some reason, I cannot remember that. I got to crack the notepad open and take a look at it. But yeah, 279-225-6737. Shoot me a native text anytime, and we'll get back to you when we can. If you want to link up with Anthony, shoot us a text. We'll get you in touch with him. Really appreciate your time this evening, Anthony. I'm now even more glad we turned that intro that you won into a full episode. And I look forward to having you back on in another year or two, and let's see where you've gone thus far. But I can see the trajectory. Our VP of Ops and friend Danny Jones went out and visited Anthony's team last month and brought back just a ton of gold nuggets. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you better, and I'll see you around. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys so much.
Like every week, we want to leave you with the challenge to wake up every single morning and waste no day.